So in this session we'll look at how to design and develop the product, and in order to do this we'll look at a number of approaches to product development and we'll apply these theories using practical examples of real life products. So in terms of learning outcomes, by the end of this session you should be able to describe the various stages in the product development process, describe the various stages in the process of developing a business model, and also you should be able to use the business model canvas to transform an idea into a viable business model, and in doing so demonstrate that it has commercial potential. Now, we've seen already that entrepreneurs are often considered to be highly innovative and always coming up with new and unique ideas for new businesses and products. And whilst entrepreneurs do not have to be innovative to be successful, they do need to understand and manage the innovation process within their companies. And the frameworks which determine how the company is constructed is referred to as a business model. Now, a good idea fulfills a need in the marketplace, and in doing so generates profit. The process by which entrepreneurs innovate is referred to as the product development process, and the most successful innovative companies tend to systematically encourage the development of ideas as a normal function of how they operate. Now, we've established there's a clear link between creativity, innovation and entrepreneurship. Successful entrepreneurs combine creativity, innovation and entrepreneurship in order to establish and manage a business which adds value in some form to the customer. A new company will usually start with an initial concept of how it will be structured to serve its customers, and then it will also work out how best to work with suppliers, and in doing so it will evolve and change. As the company grows, the entrepreneur will uncover knowledge about the company's environment that may not have been obvious at the outset, and this new information must be fed into the company's plans to stimulate innovation, not only in products and services but also in the very fabric about how the company will operate within a unique business model. And remember that good ideas do not have to be new ideas. There are a number of ways to build upon already existing material and still provide a profit-driven concept, and here are a few examples of this. We can develop ideas as an extension or a redesign of an existing service. We can re-segment and create an improved service. We can re-differentiate and market the product at a lower price. We can add value to an existing product, or we can develop or redesign a new version of an existing product. But whichever method is used, having come up with an idea is not enough to launch a business, and you need to develop your idea to make it stronger, and this can be achieved by using the following approach, namely research, prototyping, market testing and feasibility planning. And by adopting this approach, it's possible to very quickly build a business model which is desirable, feasible and viable. But remember here that any business model should be viewed as a work in progress and as a cycle which is continuous. And the key elements of this cycle are learn, experiment, plan and reshape. At the learning stage, you need to be open to new ideas, conduct research and speak to a diverse range of people to help you firm up your idea. At the experimental stage, you need to apply what you've learned and try things out. Start early and fail early, risking only what you can afford, and learn from the process as you do so. At the planning stage, you should reflect on the learning and experimentation process and plan what you're going to do next. And finally, you need to reshape, and here is where you try to adapt, modify and improve your idea based on what you've learned so far. Kaplan and Warren 2013 propose a 5-phase approach to commercialise ideas, which recognises that identifying which business ideas have real commercial potential is one of the most difficult challenges that an entrepreneur will face. Adopting a structured approach such as this to developing a new product will help entrepreneurs to know a winning business concept when they see one. So phase 1 of this process is about seizing the opportunity, and here the basic objective is to define the criteria that would make a business opportunity worthwhile to pursue. At this stage we must also look at the time horizons and evaluate opportunity costs in order to establish whether or not the idea is worth pursuing. In phase 2 we investigate the need through market research, and here the first step is to identify, measure and document the need for the product or service. This means making a specific financial forecast of the actual potential and anticipated return for this proposed product or service. At this stage, we need to address some preliminary questions around the product need, the niche, competition, cost in manufacture, advertising and packaging, sales, transport and employees. This process starts with data collection, and ideally you should design and execute a study to get the answers you need. From this you can then analyse the data in order to determine what it actually means. In phase 3, we need to determine the resources needed, and all businesses must address resource capabilities to foster venture development. These resources include factors such as personal contacts and networking, financing requirements and sources of technical skills. So in phase 4 we need to develop a plan, and this could be a feasibility plan, an outline plan or a full business plan. The plan charts the current and future components of the business and should determine the viability of the business and application in selected markets. It should also provide guidance in planning and organising the activities and goals of the business, and also serve as a vehicle to obtain financing and personnel for the business. The business plan is the backbone of the business, and this single document guides the entrepreneur at 3 critical junctures. It simplifies decision making during times of crisis, it's the roadmap at points of indecision, and it's the motivational guide during setbacks or downturns. An extremely valuable outcome of preparing and writing an outline plan at this stage is identifying flaws and creating contingencies. Phase 5 is concerned with managing the business, and here the entrepreneur needs to focus on delivering a total solution to their customer by cultivating more advanced resources and embedding innovation in the business. But remember, innovation is not a single event. You should never stop innovating, and you should always imagine that there's someone somewhere having the same idea, because there's a very real chance that there is. Now, it's becoming more and more difficult to build a company around a single product idea without strong patent protection. This is particularly true for consumer products that have a very short life cycle. Protective barriers must become part of any business model, whether via patents, trade secrets, uniqueness in the business model, or fast movement to market to stay ahead of competitors. So let's take a minute to apply the theory we've explored so far to a real life example. So let's take the most ordinary of products. And here we have 3 different leading brands of bottled water. Each product here is exactly the same size, all 3 are fully recyclable, and the water itself tastes pretty much the same for all 3 brands. So on the face of it, the products themselves are largely indistinguishable from their competitors. But if we look at the price of each of these products, we can see that for whatever reason, there's a 20% price difference between the cheapest and the most expensive of these 3 leading products. And if we look at the annual sales of bottled mineral water ranked by number of users in the United Kingdom, we can see that for whatever reason, these 3 products are actually in the top 3. And the questions we need to reflect on here are these. If the products are so similar, how is one better than the other and able to charge and sell more for more or less the same product? And secondly, how could you design a better product to compete with these market leaders? Now, an important aspect to consider when designing any product is the product life cycle, and this is the time that a product is able to command a high profit margin in the market before it becomes obsolete or develops intense competition. Stage 1 of this cycle is the introduction phase, and here, as the product is introduced, there will usually be high costs in bringing it to market, but low sales resulting in initial losses. Stage 2 is the growth phase, and here, if the market decides it wants a product, sales increase and unit costs decrease because of economies of scale. If this continues, the product starts to become profitable at sales above the break-even point. In stage 3, the product approaches maturity, and here profits gradually increase as both demand peaks and costs continue to reduce because of efficiencies. However, eventually competitors also enter the market with their own products in pursuit of these profits, and this increased competition leads to an overall reduction in sales. This leads to stage 4, which is decline, and here sales and profits reduce significantly as the product comes to the end of its life and customers move to other products. The time spent with the product in each stage is important, and the goal for the business here is to move your product through the introduction stage and the growth stage as quickly as possible in order to benefit for as long as possible from the profits that are available in the maturity stage. It's also important that when your product is clearly in the decline stage and cannot be revived, that you discontinue it before it becomes loss-making. The product life cycle is most valuable when it's used to evaluate how well balanced the mix of your business's products are. For example, if all of your products are in the decline stage of the life cycle, then at some point you're going to run out of income from sales. But if all your products are in the introduction stage, you're probably going to be overextended and run out of cash. Ideally, you would have products sitting at each stage of the life cycle so that as one moves from maturity and into decline, another takes its place. The product life cycle is a simple model which cannot predict future sales, but which is important because it shows how a product has performed over its life so far and how successful that product has been at contributing to the profits of the business. Finally, if you use the product life cycle to ensure that you have products at different stages in their life cycle, you can be confident that you can enjoy returns not just today but in the future, and in so doing you can build a strong and sustainable business model. And remember what we've learned from earlier sessions, that a successful model needs to be feasible, meaning can you gather the necessary resources to pull it off? It also needs to be desirable, meaning will people want to buy it? And viable, meaning can you demand a price that makes the effort worthwhile? We must consider what exactly you're selling, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages of the product or service, how is your product or service differentiated, is it a product looking for a market or vice versa, how do we define your niche, how is the need being filled now, and who or what is the competition? And a quick and easy way to answer these questions and demonstrate that the business is possible is to use a tool such as the Opportunity Screening Checklist, and you can find a copy of this in this session's section on Moodle. So at this stage you should be able to more or less complete an opportunity screening checklist for your product idea, and remember here that if there are any questions you can't answer at this point, then more research is clearly needed before you can turn your idea into a credible business model. Now, according to Kaplan and Warren, good business models are scalable, they create barriers to followers, they align the interests of all stakeholders, provide value to all stakeholders, employ networks effectively, employ capital efficiently, and provide sustainable high gross margins. So the tool we'll be using to develop a business model is the Business Model Canvas, and this is very simple and straightforward to use. And the short video in Moodle provides an overview of how to use the Business Model Canvas in practical terms. So the Canvas identifies 9 key topics or building blocks to consider when exploring different business models, and it offers a high degree of sophistication when seeking to translate an opportunity into a business. The 9 building blocks of the Business Model Canvas can be further divided into 4 main areas of business, namely customers, offering, infrastructure, and financial viability. The key points to consider when building a business model using the Business Model Canvas are: who are our key partners? Why do we need them? Why do they need us? What's unique about what we can do better than others? What are our key activities? How do we contribute to the value proposition? What are the needs for each subgroup of customers, and what value are they seeking? We also need to decide what key resources we need to perform, and the resources that we need to consider could be human, intellectual, financial or physical. And we also need to understand who our customers are, how do we contribute to the value proposition for the customer, how do we relate to these selected customers, and how do we segment these customers. From this we can identify which are the most valuable to us, and we also need to think about how we get to these customers. And lastly, we need to consider where are the major costs for our resources and also for our activities. Now there are multiple different versions of the business canvas, and each version is designed to fulfill a particular function. However, for our purposes we'll be using the standard version of the business model canvas, and again you can find a template for this in this section of Moodle. The business model canvas allows us to focus on the 9 key aspects of the business model. So I hope that's provided you with an overview of product development and business modelling. Now, thinking about what we've just learned, look at the tutorial slides for this session on Moodle and the business model for Doug Cafe and reflect on these questions. What's good about the business model? What's not good about the business model? And how can we change the business model to come up with something even better?